He didn't step out of a dream, but from the cracks of a broken childhood, where a boy beaten by his father, mocked for dyslexia, would one day become the most powerful man in Hollywood. Tom Cruise isn't just an actor. He is the embodiment of will, of iron discipline, of a fear of losing control so deep that his entire life has become a movie directed by himself. For over 4 decades, he's flown across the Burj Khalifa, clung to planes mid-takeoff, and leapt off real cliffs, performing stunts without doubles because to him, danger is the only proof of existence. Yet behind those death-defying jumps lies a man who never truly lands, lonely, haunted by faith, and distant from the daughter he once called the miracle of my life. The story of Tom Cruise isn't just about an action star's rise. It's the tragedy of a man who traded freedom for absolute control, on screen and off. From the dyslexic boy in Syracuse to the cinematic hero ruling the world, from the radiant smiles on red carpets to the years when his daughter chose another name, this is the journey of a legend who cannot be dethroned, but can never be wholly loved. And to understand why that man became obsessed with perfection, we have to go back to the beginning, to the place where Hollywood's light had never reached. Tom Cruise was born in 1962 in Syracuse, New York, into a poor Catholic family. His father, Thomas Cruise, may Pother Thurs. Third, was an electrical engineer who was often unemployed. His mother, Mary Lee, was an amateur actress who kept the family afloat through teaching jobs and unshakable faith. They had 4 children, and Tom was the only son, small, thin, always trying to find a way to make his father proud. But that never happened. In Tom's memory, his father was a violent, unpredictable man. He would take out his frustration on his son whenever work fell apart, filling their small home with shouting and fear. His mother endured it silently, believing that patience was the only thing holding the family together. In that tiny world, Tom learned his first and harshest lesson. If you're not strong enough, someone else will control your life. At 12, he was diagnosed with dyslexia, a reading disorder that made school torture. Tom couldn't keep up with his classmates, was mocked constantly, and began to withdraw. But what hurt more than the grades or the ridicule was the look of contempt from his father, who called him a failure. That wound turned into a quiet, burning anger, the same force that would later drive him with relentless intensity on set. The family's life kept unraveling. Because of debt and unemployment, they moved constantly, 15 schools in 12 years. Each time Tom began to make friends, he had to leave again. The endless moving robbed him of any sense of home. Yet in those lonely stretches, Tom discovered something extraordinary. On stage, he could become anyone, confident, powerful, happy, everything he wasn't in real life. At 14, after a violent argument, his mother took the children and left, abandoning the abusive husband. Tom never saw his father again. When the man died years later, he didn't attend the funeral. But the shadow of that relationship never left him. It remained like a scar in his mind, pushing him to spend his life proving he could control everything his father had destroyed. In high school, Tom tried every way to belong. Sports teams, drama clubs, even the priesthood. He enrolled in the Franciscan seminary but left after a year. Not because he lost faith, but because deep down, he knew he wasn't meant to serve in silence. He wanted to be seen, to be heard, to be recognized. When his mother remarried and life grew steadier, Tom began chasing his dream of acting. He worked odd jobs, saved every penny, and finally left for New York. In that noisy city, a young man with a battered suitcase carried an ambition far bigger than his age. No one knew that among the countless hopeful faces at auditions, there was one who would become a symbol of defiance and the embodiment of the price of ambition. From the darkness of his childhood, Tom Cruise emerged, not to escape it, but to conquer it. And that first wound became the foundation of who he would forever be, a man who refuses to lose even when the price is himself. When he left his hometown and boarded a bus to New York in the early 1980s, Tom Cruise carried only a few $100s, an old suitcase, and one unshakable belief: that if he didn't try, his life would forever be defined by his past. The city was unforgiving, filled with dreamers just like him, most of whom would vanish without leaving a trace. But Tom was different. He hadn't come to test his luck. He'd come to wage war against fate. In 1981, Tom landed his first small part in Endless Love. A brief appearance, yet enough to let him taste the true pulse of cinema. Soon after, he was cast in Taps, a film about a military academy where his character struggles between ideals and reality. Though it was a supporting role, his raw intensity and those young, determined eyes caught Hollywood's attention. Directors and co-stars saw something unusual in the 19-year-old: devotion. He didn't just act. He lived inside the role. Every scene was a release of anger, pain, and a desperate need to prove his worth. 2 years later, in 1983, Risky Business changed everything. The scene of Tom sliding across the wooden floor in a white shirt, lip-syncing to old-time rock and roll, became a generational image. The world suddenly saw a face that combined boyish charm with explosive energy. But behind that smile, he was suffocating under pressure, tasting fame for the first time, realizing how fragile it was, how one wrong move could make it all collapse. Then came Top Gun in 1986. As the hotshot pilot Maverick, Tom became the new symbol of the American dream. Proud, daring, passionate, and unbreakable. The film grossed over $350 million worldwide, catapulting him to A-list superstardom overnight. The Ray-Ban sunglasses he wore sold out. His hairstyle and smile became global trends. Yet, amid the cheers, Tom began to ask himself, was he living his life or playing a role written for him? Top Gun gave him victory's sweetness, but also shackled him to the archetype of the American hero, a mold he would rely on and spend years trying to break free from. In 1988 came Cocktail. Critics slammed it for being hollow and overly commercial, but it grossed over $170 million on a $20 million budget, proof that Tom Cruise's name alone could fill theaters. He realized then that Hollywood wasn't just art, it was a marketplace, and whether he liked it or not, he had become its most valuable commodity. Beneath the glamour, Tom felt increasingly lost. He longed to be respected for his craft, not just his body or his smile on a poster. By 1989, Born on the 4th of July arrived as his chance to reclaim that respect. Playing Vietnam War veteran Ron Kovich, paralyzed and broken in spirit, Tom underwent a complete transformation. He shaved his head, lived in a wheelchair for months, and studied Kovich's life to understand the agony of both body and soul. Every frame was a trial. The on-screen hero now had to embody a man crushed by reality, and that's what finally earned him true respect. The film won him the Golden Globe for Best Actor, earned his first Oscar nomination, and proved he wasn't just a movie star, he was a real actor. Yet behind the spotlight, Tom was still fighting himself. The wounds of his childhood, the fear of losing control, and the hunger for validation burned on. Each role became both a cure and an addiction. The more he succeeded, the emptier he felt. From the young man who left home with a few $100s, Tom Cruise had reached a height most actors only dream of. But even as he stood on red carpets, his eyes still carried the loneliness of a man who could never allow himself to stop. After Born on the 4th of July, Tom Cruise was no longer the symbol of youthful rebellion or muscle-bound heroism. He entered a new phase, where discipline and intellect began to define his path. In 1992, A Few Good Men premiered, thrusting him into the world of military law. A dry but deeply dramatic arena. As Lieutenant Daniel Caffey, a young lawyer forced to confront authority and morality, Cruise proved he could convey emotional gravity through nothing more than a look or a perfectly timed line. The film grossed over $240 million and earned an Oscar nomination for Best Picture, while establishing Cruise as a serious star, one who could stand alongside Jack Nicholson and Demi Moore without being overshadowed. Yet within the glow of that success, he began to feel a subtle burden. Audiences no longer saw him merely as an actor. He had become the embodiment of America itself, of ideals and loyalty. In the years that followed, he tried to break free from that image. The Firm, 1993, plunged him into a world of lawyers and corporate corruption, where the line between integrity and compromise blurred. With a global box office of over $270 million, it was not only a commercial hit, but also a step toward balancing art and commerce. A year later, he shocked Hollywood by transforming into the vampire Lestat in Interview with the Vampire, 1994. A role completely opposite from the righteous hero he had built his career upon. Lestat was seductive, cruel, lonely, and psychologically complex. At first, critics doubted Cruise could embody such a dark, immortal being, but the results silenced them. He gave Lestat a tragic allure, a soul both mesmerizing and lost, much like himself, drifting within his own fame. The film became a global sensation, earning over $220 million and cementing Cruise's reputation as an artist unafraid to explore the shadows of his own identity. Then came 1996, the turning point that would change everything. That year, Cruise launched Mission: Impossible. Not only did he star as Ethan Hunt, but he also produced the film through his newly founded company, Cruise Wagner Productions, alongside Paula Wagner. This wasn't just another movie, it was a declaration. Tom Cruise had become a corporation unto himself. Mission: Impossible exploded worldwide, grossing more than $450 million and creating a franchise that would span nearly 3 decades. From actor to architect, he began to control every aspect: the script, the director, the marketing campaign. In Hollywood, few could achieve that level of dominance without being swallowed by the system. But that power came with a cost. As the image of Tom Cruise, the fearless action star, was celebrated, it also became his cage. The media praised him as the man who knows no fear, yet scrutinized every breath and every personal choice. His deepening involvement with the Church of Scientology became a point of public fascination and controversy. The press dug in, and Hollywood split into 2 camps: admirers and skeptics. Behind the leaps, the falls, and the death-defying stunts, Tom Cruise was chasing the one thing he had never known as a boy: absolute control. Mission: Impossible wasn't just a film about a spy saving the world. It was a metaphor for the man himself, one constantly wearing masks to conceal his fear of losing identity. By 34, Tom Cruise was no longer the dreamer chasing success. He was the dream. A self-made empire balanced precariously between freedom, ambition, and the solitude he had built from a lifetime of discipline. When Mission: Impossible Premiered in 1996, few realized it wasn't merely an action film, but the beginning of a cinematic legacy spanning nearly 3 decades. From 1996 to 2024, the franchise has grossed billions worldwide, making Cruz the highest-earning actor in Hollywood and a living symbol of absolute commitment. Each installment of Mission Impossible has been a declaration of war against human limits. Cruz uses no stunt doubles. He actually climbed Dubai's Burj Khalifa in a 120 degrees heat, clung to a plane mid-takeoff, performed a halo jump from 25,000 feet, held his breath for over 6 minutes underwater, and most recently, in Dead Reckoning 2023, rode a motorcycle off a mountain cliff before deploying a parachute, a feat Hollywood experts called the most real, insane stunt ever captured on film. For Cruz, there are no special effects, only special effort. In a Real interview, he once said that only by facing fear himself could he make the audience truly feel it. Perhaps that's why he's no longer just an actor, but a rare psychological phenomenon, a man who feels safe only when doing the most dangerous things imaginable. Behind those breathtaking scenes lies a work ethic bordering on the religious. Tom Cruise sleeps little, studies every line of the script, inspects lighting, sound, editing rhythm, and demands perfection in every frame. No one on set is allowed to approximate, only to be precise. Colleagues describe him as a machine powered by belief. No alcohol, no parties, only work and mission. Each project is run like a military operation where everything must move in sync with Tom Cruise time. His obsession with control terrifies Hollywood producers, yet they admit no one else could deliver results like his. Cruise's contracts are structured like a strategist's playbook, a massive base salary combined with a percentage of box office revenue. This model routinely earns him between $70–100 million per film, far beyond any of his peers. For him, success isn't luck. It's the formula of labor, calculation, and the conviction that he can do what others fear to even attempt. But behind that blinding brilliance lies the aura of total control. In Hollywood, nothing happens around Tom Cruise without his approval. He personally chooses directors, oversees marketing, and even supervises trailer edits. Insiders describe working with him as perfect tension, exhausting, relentless, but yielding results that make the world stand in awe. His achievements are nearly unmatched, even among cinematic legends. 3 Oscar nominations, multiple Golden Globes for Born on the 4th of July, Jerry Maguire, and Magnolia. Yet his greatest modern triumph came with Top Gun. Maverick, 2022, the long-awaited sequel more than 3 decades in the making. At a time when theaters worldwide were reeling from the post-COVID crisis, the film didn't just gross $1.4 billion, it revived the entire movie industry. Critics called it a miracle of faith, and audiences saw only one thing: a 60-year-old man still flying for real, still risking everything to remind the world why cinema matters. From a penniless young actor to entrepreneur, producer, and global icon, Tom Cruise didn't just build a career, he built a religion of his own, one of perfection, discipline, and defiance of limits. In Hollywood, people may love him or hate him, but no one can deny this. Everything he touches turns to legend. By 2011, when Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol premiered, Tom Cruise was at an age when most action stars were beginning to step back. But not him. The film not only marked a spectacular revival of the Mission Impossible franchise, but also became the highest-grossing movie of his career up to that point, earning over $690 million worldwide. The image of Tom scaling the exterior of the Burj Khalifa in the blistering Dubai heat. No safety cables, no stunt double, became one of the most iconic shots in modern cinema. It wasn't just a stunt. It was a statement of his life philosophy. If he didn't face fear himself, then glory meant nothing. That success launched a remarkable 3-year streak, during which Tom continued to prove he wasn't confined to any genre. In 2012, Jack Reacher debuted, a dark, noir-style thriller where he played a lone drifter delivering justice his own way. Gone were the grandiose set pieces. Instead, the character was cold, calculating, and quietly tormented, another reflection of the real Tom. The film grossed over $200 million, reinforcing his power as a box office magnet who could draw audiences no matter the story. In 2013, oblivion took him into a post-apocalyptic future, where humanity had been reduced to memories. Beneath its glossy sci-fi surface lay the lonely story of a man searching for identity, something Tom Cruise seemed to be chasing his entire life. A year later came Edge of Tomorrow, and the world was stunned. Mixing action and time loop science fiction, the film demanded near superhuman endurance. At 52, Cruise donned a 40-kilogram exosuit, performing dozens of combat scenes over and over until exhaustion. The result was one of his most critically acclaimed performances of the decade, grossing over $370 million and reaffirming that he wasn't just Hollywood's hero. He was an artist in perpetual rebirth. In 2015, Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation extended his streak of impossible feats. Once again, Tom defied biology itself, clinging to the side of an Airbus A400M during takeoff at 400 km/h, just to prove to audiences it wasn't CGI. The movie earned nearly $700 million, and viewers showed no signs of fatigue toward Ethan Hunt, the character that had become Tom's second self over 2 decades. Yet behind those dazzling numbers lingered an unshakable unease. In his 50s, Tom Cruise carried a burden few dared to face, maintaining the illusion of the eternal action hero while staying credible. Hollywood is ruthless with age, and critics began to ask, was he clinging to a fading crown? Some of his films, though financially solid, were criticized as too formulaic or lacking evolution. Tom found himself trapped between 2 poles, satisfying mainstream audiences while still yearning to be respected as a true artist. That pressure only deepened his obsession with control and perfection. Every project became a battle between body and spirit, between the artist's soul and the brand he had become. Each jump, each wound from a stunt, wasn't just an act. It was a declaration. He was still here, still capable, and nowhere near done. In a Hollywood that reinvented itself daily, Tom Cruise kept charging forward, as if only speed itself could keep him from falling into his own abyss. At the height of his fame, Tom Cruise turned toward a faith, one that would not only shape who he became, but also define much of the tragedy that followed. In the early 1990s, through his first wife, Mimi Rogers, Tom was introduced to the Church of Scientology, a mysterious and highly controversial religious organization. Mimi, who had grown up within its teachings, believed that Scientology's spiritual methods could restore mental order and unlock a person's hidden superhuman potential. At the time, Tom, still battling the trauma of dyslexia, saw it as a miracle. The auditing sessions, Scientology's signature form of spiritual therapy, made him believe he had been cured of the disorder that had haunted his youth. For him, Scientology wasn't just a religion, it was salvation. He began devoting his faith, money, and reputation to the church. Before long, he became its most visible global ambassador, bringing Scientology deeper into Hollywood through his vast network of producers and actors. He quickly grew close to David Miscavige, Scientology's supreme leader, a man said to have enormous influence over every major decision in Tom's life, from his career to his marriages. The two became a powerful duo, viewed as the unbreakable alliance of Scientology and Hollywood, both admired and feared. Cruz expanded the church's reach, joined public campaigns, and frequently praised its teachings in high-profile interviews. But the more outspoken he became, the more controversy followed. In 2004, an internal Scientology promotional video leaked, featuring Tom being praised as the man who brings light to humanity. His fervent tone, intense gaze, and almost missionary conviction shocked the public. The image of a down-to-earth action star morphed into that of a zealous believer. That same year, he publicly criticized actress Brooke Shields for taking antidepressants to treat postpartum depression, calling the medication toxic and contrary to Scientology's beliefs. The backlash was immediate and massive, not only for shaming a colleague struggling with mental illness, but also for revealing the extremity of his faith. Soon after, his relationship with director Steven Spielberg, his collaborator on War of the Worlds, also fractured. Spielberg reportedly grew frustrated that Tom brought Scientology members onto set and used press events to promote the church's ideology. Their falling out became tabloid fuel, and from then on, Hollywood began to regard Cruz with caution. He was no longer just a superstar. He was an ecosystem, a Cruz universe, governed by religion and control. The deeper his devotion to Scientology grew, the more isolated he became. Every relationship, from friendships to marriages, had to pass through that filter of belief. And in the end, this faith became the invisible wedge that tore apart his personal life, particularly his marriages to Nicole Kidman and Holmes. Scientology not only severed him from his second wife, but also fractured his bond with his daughter, Suri, in ways that may never heal. In Hollywood, Tom Cruise remains an immortal icon. But behind the blinding light lies a sealed world few dare to enter. A man who once believed he had found salvation, only to lose the very things that made him human: freedom and unconditional love. Before Scientology became the religion that consumed his life, Tom Cruise entered his first marriage with Mimi Rogers, the woman who would be both his catalyst and the beginning of everything he never expected. Mimi was 6 years older, a sharp, confident actress already respected in Hollywood, and someone who had grown up within the Church of Scientology. When they met in 1985, Tom was still the eager young star fresh off Top Gun, naive, restless, and looking for something stable amid the whirlwind of fame. Mimi was drawn to his sincerity, while Tom found in her a sense of guidance. They married in 1987 in a quiet ceremony, far from cameras, as if to shield him from the pressure of stardom. During that period, Mimi introduced him to the spiritual concepts she believed in, from the first auditing sessions of Scientology to its promise of unlocking human potential. For Tom, this wasn't just curiosity, it was fascination with the idea of order and purpose. The dyslexia that had tormented him since childhood was said to be healed through Scientology's methods. He began to believe he had finally found what he'd been searching for all along, a kind of salvation to replace his chaotic youth. But as Tom sank deeper into the organization, their marriage began to change course. Mimi was independent, worldly, and sharp, while Tom, under the influence of the church's teachings and its circle, began to transform. He grew stricter, more perfectionist, and increasingly absent, consumed by work and belief. To Mimi, his newfound devotion bordered on fanaticism. The warmth between them cooled, not because of betrayal or anger, but because they were now living in two different worlds. She sought freedom, he sought control. By 1990, they divorced quietly, but the impact would last. In later years, Mimi rarely spoke of her ex-husband, only once remarking, "He needed a religion more than he needed a wife." For Tom, it was his first true heartbreak, not one written in a script, but in real life. Yet instead of retreating, he plunged further into Scientology, as if searching there for the answers to his losses. And from that ending, he would step into the most brilliant and loneliest phase of his life. After his marriage to Mimi Rogers ended, Tom Cruise didn't wait long before a new chapter began, one where light and shadow intertwined more powerfully than ever. On the set of Days of Thunder, 1990, he met Nicole Kidman, the red-haired Australian actress with striking blue eyes. She was 23, he was 28, already one of the most famous men in the world. Amid the roar of engines, the smell of gasoline, and the adrenaline of racing scenes, the two were drawn together like twin meteors, speeding toward the same blaze of glory and destiny. They married on Christmas Eve, 1990, in a private but emotional ceremony. For Tom, Nicole wasn't just a woman he loved. She was proof that he could orchestrate every part of his life: career, faith, and love. For Nicole, it was the American dream, a life where every door seemed open. Together, they became Hollywood's golden couple, beautiful, successful, enigmatic. They co-starred in Far and Away, 1992, and later reached artistic heights with Eyes Wide Shut, 1999, Stanley Kubrick's final film, and one that eerily mirrored the unraveling of their real marriage. To the public, they looked perfect. Radiant smiles on red carpets, 2 adopted children, Isabella and Connor, and a grand Beverly Hills mansion. But behind closed doors, Nicole began to realize that their world didn't truly belong to them. It belonged to something larger, more powerful: Scientology. When she sought simplicity, Tom sought control. When she wanted emotional connection, he turned to meetings with David Miscavige. The church's growing presence in their home made Nicole feel watched, stripped of privacy, even in her own life. Eyes Wide Shut wasn't just a film about desire and betrayal. It was prophecy. During the 400-day shoot in London, Kubrick pushed them to recreate real emotion: love, suspicion, anger, alienation. When filming ended, Nicole admitted, "We left a piece of our marriage on that set." And indeed, a few years later, the marriage collapsed. In 2001, Tom Cruise abruptly filed for divorce without warning, leaving Nicole shattered. She had just discovered she was pregnant, but it turned out to be an ectopic pregnancy. The emotional pain deepened when their adopted children, Connor and Isabella, chose to live with Tom and remain within Scientology. Nicole fell into depression, while Tom buried himself in work, using his films to fill the silence. To the public, it was just another Hollywood breakup. But to those close to them, it was a clash of two faiths. One believed in love, the other in a system. When it all fell apart, Nicole left America and retreated to Australia, living in seclusion for years, nearly cut off from her children. Tom, meanwhile, remained the image of composure, smiling on red carpets, flawless in interviews as if nothing had happened. But behind that composure was a silence he would never acknowledge. Years later, Nicole reflected, "I think I truly loved him, but I don't know if he ever stepped out of his role." And perhaps that is the most accurate definition of Tom Cruise, a man who can never separate the screen from real life. After Nicole, he moved forward once again, not to love, but to prove that he could control even his own emotions. After the heartbreak with Nicole Kidman, it seemed as though Tom Cruise had closed the door on love for good. But fate found him once again, this time on the set of Vanilla Sky, 2001, where he met Penelope Cruz, the Spanish actress whose wild beauty and enigmatic gaze carried both freedom and fire. She had just come from starring in Open Your Eyes, the original film Vanilla Sky was based on, bringing with her an unrestrained spirit that Tom found irresistible. While he was still nursing wounds from his broken marriage, Penelope entered his life like a warm wind, natural, alive, and untouched by any faith except her own emotions. Their relationship began behind the scenes, amid romantic takes and shared loneliness. Tom was captivated by Penelope's spontaneity, wit, and independence, qualities he had long been missing in the rigid world of Scientology. She, in turn, saw not the invincible superstar, but a man searching for himself. For 3 years, they became one of Hollywood's most sought-after couples, photographed in Cannes, London, and Madrid, where Tom would shyly try a few words of Spanish just to make her laugh. Yet behind the sweetness, distance began to grow. Once again, Scientology cast its shadow over Tom's love life. Penelope, a practicing Buddhist who believed in peace and inner freedom, couldn't accept how deeply Tom's religion permeated his personal life. She refused to take part in auditing sessions or to let anyone dictate her thoughts. Tom, utterly devoted to the church, couldn't abandon what he saw as his spiritual foundation. The deeper they loved, the more they realized passion could not bridge their spiritual divide. Penelope slowly withdrew, choosing silence over conflict. She still cared for him deeply, but understood one painful truth. No one could love Tom Cruise without accepting the entire system orbiting around him, closed, disciplined, ruled by faith and power. In 2004, they separated quietly. No scandals, no public tears, only a gentle farewell that the public still remembers. For Tom, it was another kind of loss. Not the agony of heartbreak, but the realization that every relationship he touched demanded the other person's surrender of freedom. After Penelope, he seemed to retreat further into Scientology, building an even higher wall between himself and the world. Yet to Hollywood, the image of Tom Cruise, the man who could conquer the sky but lose love to his own beliefs, became more fascinating, mysterious, and unreachable than ever. And just when the world thought he would remain forever alone inside the shell of a superstar, fate tested him once more, with a romance that stunned everyone. Katie Holmes. When Tom Cruise met Katie Holmes, Hollywood exploded. In 2005, the petite girl from Ohio, who once told 17 magazine, "My dream is to marry Tom Cruise," suddenly became the woman everyone envied. Their romance unfolded like a movie. Tom was filming War of the Worlds. Katie had just left Dawson's Creek, both at the peak of their fame. And within weeks, they were engaged. Everything happened so fast, no one had time to analyze it. They were in love. They appeared together on red carpets, and just months later, Tom jumped on Oprah Winfrey's couch, shouting in a frenzy of emotion, "I'm in love!" It became one of the most iconic and unsettling moments in pop culture. Their wedding was a fairy tale, held in a 15th century castle in Bracciano, Italy, costing over $3 million and attended by A-list guests, Jennifer Lopez, Will Smith, Victoria, and David Beckham among them. To the world, they were Hollywood royalty. But beneath the glitter, cracks were already forming. Their daughter, Suri, was born in April 2006 under Scientology's silent birth ritual, requiring absolute silence during delivery to protect the infant's spirit. Katie complied, but those close to her said she was confused and isolated from the moment she entered Tom's world. The Holmes family, devout Catholics from Ohio, grew increasingly alarmed. They noticed Katie rarely appeared alone. She was often accompanied by assistants or minders linked to Scientology. In interviews, she spoke slowly, repeating phrases like, "Tom is amazing," prompting the media to wonder, was this love or control? Rumors spread that Katie was being monitored around the clock. Gradually, her public smiles faded, while Tom's devotion to the church only deepened. 7 years later, in June 2012, while Tom was filming Oblivion in Iceland, Katie shocked the world by filing for divorce. Secretly, strategically, and with surgical precision. She filed in New York rather than California, knowing the state favored mothers in custody cases. Her father, Martin Holmes, a sharp lawyer, had helped her plan the move for months, changing phones, replacing the nanny, hiring private security, and cutting all contact with anyone tied to Scientology. When news broke, Tom was blindsided. He learned of the divorce from the press just days before his 50th birthday. The legal battle ended in a mere 11 days. So swiftly it stunned everyone. Katie was granted full custody of Suri. In exchange, Tom agreed to pay $400,000 per year in child support until she turned 18, along with schooling and insurance costs. Katie demanded no further money, no division of marital assets. She only wanted one thing: to keep Scientology as far away from her daughter as possible. Since that day, Tom Cruise has been virtually absent from Suri's life. For more than 12 years after the divorce, Tom Cruise and his daughter Suri have never been photographed together. A silence so long it's become a question. Do they even speak? After escaping a marriage defined by control, Katie moved to New York with 6-year-old Suri, beginning a new, quieter life, far from Hollywood. Their apartment in Chelsea sits close to parks and art schools Katie chose with care. They live simply, privately, away from cameras, but those who see them say they are happy, in a small, ordinary, deeply human way. Their divorce agreement contained one unusual clause. Katie was forbidden from publicly dating anyone for 5 years after the split, to protect Tom's image and prevent embarrassment to Scientology. That's why her relationship with actor Jamie Foxx, 2013-2019, remained completely secret. For 6 years, they met in private, never appeared together, never spoke publicly about each other. And only after they broke up did the world learn they'd ever been in love. But to Katie, that didn't matter. Her world no longer revolved around fame. It revolved around Suri. She reinvented herself, turning from TV star to independent filmmaker, directing small personal projects like Alone Together and Rare Objects. In these films, Suri lent her voice to the soundtrack, a touching detail symbolizing the sacred bond between mother and daughter. Katie once said in an interview, "Suri is my heart. Having her near me on set gives me peace." No grand words, just a quiet redefinition of happiness. To work, to raise her child, and to walk side by side through life without needing the spotlight. On April 18, 2024, Suri turned 18, a milestone marking the end of Tom's financial obligations. Yet instead of celebrating with a lavish party, she made a quiet, powerful gesture. She changed her name. From that day forward, she would be known as Suri Noel, taking her mother's middle name. It wasn't just a legal decision, it was a declaration of independence, stepping away from the Cruz legacy and into the world under her own identity. Suri now studies art and design at Carnegie Mellon University in Pennsylvania, following the creative path Katie always encouraged. On move-in day, photographers captured Katie hugging her daughter tightly before returning to New York in tears. Since then, the two often reunite on weekends, walking, shopping, having coffee, Simple moments filled with the kind of love that quietly heals what fame once took away. Meanwhile, Tom Cruise continues his whirlwind of blockbuster productions, constantly on the move between film sets. But in June 2024, when Suri graduated high school, he wasn't there. Instead, he was spotted in London, attending a Taylor Swift concert with celebrity friends. The image went viral, sparking outrage. A man who can fly fighter jets but can't drive to his daughter's graduation. A source close to the family told Hollywood Life that Tom still loves his daughter, but their connection has grown too distant. The biggest barrier remains Scientology. In the church's doctrine, Suri, no longer a member, is considered an outsider. So even if Tom wanted to see her, it would be nearly impossible. And so, in a world of glitter and noise, the story of Tom Cruise and Suri Noel remains a quiet tragedy. A man who can conquer the sky, command billions at the box office, and inspire millions, yet lose the most fragile bond that connects him to the human world, the love of his child. In his 60s, Tom Cruise has become more than an actor. He is the embodiment of the very idea of a movie star, in the pure old Hollywood sense of the word. His net worth, estimated at over $600 million, is the result of more than 4 decades of relentless dedication. The number doesn't just reflect his box office power, it's a testament to his extraordinary business acumen. In every contract, Tom negotiates a share of the theatrical revenue, turning each blockbuster into a personal empire of profit. He owns properties around the world, a luxurious mansion in Beverly Hills, a secluded ranch in Colorado, an expansive estate in Clearwater, Florida, near Scientology's headquarters, and even a historic country house in England. Each location represents a fragment of his life. Beverly Hills, the glory years of stardom; Colorado, the search for solitude; Clearwater, the center of his faith. His homes are filled with vintage and high-performance cars, from Bugattis to Porsches. Yet his true passion lies in aviation. Cruise owns a Gulfstream G450 jet and a Pitts S-2B aerobatic plane, both of which he pilots himself. In Hollywood, few still live like that, literally the pilot of their own destiny. Outside of work, Tom's lifestyle borders on monastic discipline. He trains daily, eats with precision, avoids alcohol, drugs, and social media, and insists on performing his own stunts. Skydiving, racing, even piloting fighter jets for real. Every Christmas, he sends friends and colleagues the legendary Cruise cake, a white coconut cake from Doan's Bakery in California, one of his few personal rituals in a life otherwise devoid of ordinary intimacy. Forbes has named him one of the most bankable actors of all time, and indeed, every film bearing his name becomes a global event. Yet alongside the brilliance lies the shadow of solitude. Former collaborators describe him as a machine, precise, flawless, but incapable of rest. Stories circulate through the industry about his perfectionism, his furious outbursts over a misplaced camera angle or a sound glitch, part legend, part warning. To his crews, he's an exacting commander. To his staff, a generous leader who rewards loyalty lavishly. From 2022 to 2025, Cruise has kept his superhuman pace. Top Gun, Maverick returned him to the summit, while Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning extended his legacy. But he isn't done. His next project, in partnership with NASA and SpaceX, aims to film in actual space, making him the first actor ever to shoot a movie in orbit. For Tom Cruise, the limit isn't the sky. It's the very idea of stopping. Today, he resides mostly in Clearwater, inside Scientology's gated enclave, a world few outsiders can enter. He rarely appears in public except for premieres or promotional events. He has never remarried nor confirmed any relationship since Katie Holmes. His life is solitary yet disciplined, as if perfection itself has become his form of penance. The media calls him the last of the classic movie stars, a man untouched by social media, cheap scandals, or self-indulgence, defined only by work, faith, and the cold fire in his eyes. Yet behind that invincible image lingers an unsettling silence, the solitude of a father caught between two worlds, a man who can reach the heavens but no longer knows how to reach his own daughter. After more than 40 years at the center of the spotlight, Tom Cruise has transcended acting to become a global cultural icon. He is not merely the face of modern action cinema. He represents an era when courage could replace special effects, when belief could overcome fear. In Hollywood, where fame fades faster than the camera flash, Cruise endures, not through gimmicks, but through total devotion to his craft. A new generation of directors regard him as the standard of discipline and fearlessness. Top Gun. Maverick was honored by the American Film Institute as the film that revived the theatrical experience after the pandemic, and millions of young viewers, born decades after Risky Business, now see in him something more, a living ideal of defiance against time. In an industry obsessed with being seen, Tom Cruise has chosen instead to be remembered, not for his words, but for his will. His legacy isn't only the $11 billion in global box office or the record-breaking stunts that rewrote cinematic history. It lies in something rarer, the art of discipline. Cruise never lets audiences see him weak, yet that very refusal has made him the emblem of a world still longing to touch the impossible. Younger actors, from Henry Cavill to Glenn Powell, all admit that after working with him once, they never look at acting the same way again. And though his personal life remains a mosaic of absences, of wounds that time cannot mend, the legacy Tom Cruise leaves behind stands as a message to all of Hollywood. Fame is not glory, but burden. And passion, if great enough, can turn a man into legend. If you've ever loved cinema, if you've ever looked up at the screen and believed that one man could fly, run, and fight through sheer will, take a moment to think of Tom Cruise. Not as a star, but as the last true believer in the dream of movies. Leave a comment, love Tom Cruise, if you've ever watched him on screen, and still believe that somewhere out there, he's still running, still refusing to stop.